Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Flory Models Live. Here we are with you at 2 p.m. on the 7th of April 2020. We trust you're all doing very well. We're going to be with you for the next couple of hours. Hopefully, I'm going to do a bit of oil weathering as a wash this time. Oh, what was that? It's been fine. Where did that come from? Pardon me. Anyway, hopefully that won't do it again. That'll be it. There's always your mobile next to it. So yes, but hopefully we'll all be good and sorted. We trust you're all doing very well this afternoon. Everyone's staying fit and healthy still and joining in and not going totally bonkers over all of this. Hello back to Andy. How are you feeling, Andy?
I'm actually feeling quite alright today, to be honest with you. I think it's the first day I've woken up in the morning thinking, I don't feel too bad today.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, definitely on the mend, I think.
Good. So hopefully that's the end of it for you. You're not going to do a Boris on us because we were getting concerned. I was going to book you in with Tams. Never mind. At least you are feeling better. Good job too.
Cheers.
And Nathan, that's looking very clean. Have you had a tidy up?
Might have done, yeah.
Yeah, the javelin's gone. He's
Javelin's
lost it.
Up there.
Chuck it all in a box and chuck it all out the way. Good afternoon to you guys as always. Lovely to see. I see YouTube's just lighting up on me there. So good afternoon everybody down in there. And in live chat, most of you probably thought, oh no, there you go. There is a load on there. I didn't think there was many in there. There wasn't a minute ago. So there we go. You're all in there as well. Usual things. If you've got any questions, bits and pieces, post them up. Technically Tuesday used to be Q&A Tuesday show. But again, a lot of that's gone out the window because we're doing a lot of it on the fly at the moment. I have got some nice bits and pieces coming this way. Matt is bunging me a gift box down to me, hopefully today or tomorrow. So that'll be winging its way down to me. He's got some great kit reviews in. I've also, hopefully, the lovely Karine from Brevco has sent me the new Mark III nipper cutter things after I broke mine. They're winging their way to me because I've got tracking info appearing on my phone all the time. So as soon as all this lot lands, we'll get back and doing those types of things and get the reviews going and stuff like that. This afternoon, after this, I will spend a little bit of time and maybe this evening as well, and I'll get the new BMW M6 review done for you. So that'll be up with you tomorrow as well. So yes. Never mind. So, how are we doing, guys? What's the gossip? Any news?
Boris is in hospital.
Yes, he is. Bless him.
Can I just say that Matt's been doing loads and loads of posting today and yesterday, mainly today and some yesterday. He's waiting for some bits and bobs to come up to finish some orders off, but he has been doing loads, so don't worry, orders are still going out in the post. It's just that he's limited in the times he can actually get into the unit to do the posting. And like I said, it's the same with all companies. He's waiting for stuff to come into the store to get it posted that, that would normally only take a day or two. They're taking obviously longer because of the postal and the situation we're in. But yeah, don't worry, orders are on the way, and we'll be going out as normal-ish.
As I say, the thing is to remember with all of it is that we have no control over the post. We're quite happy to get them out within a day or two. And as I said, like Matt, I think he's doing his roughly the same as me. So he's sort of doing them sort of every other day. He's doing like a post run. At the moment, if everything continues as it is, I'm normally doing it 3 days a week as well. I'm doing Monday, Wednesday and Friday. But because it's Good Friday, although it won't feel like it, will it? It's going to just feel like every other day. But the post office will obviously be shut on Friday. So the last orders for me for before Easter will obviously go out on Thursday. So make sure you get your orders in before midday on Thursday. And I'll make sure they go out. But I will do a post run tomorrow and Thursday. But obviously there won't be one on Friday. And there won't be anything going out on Monday. Because weirdly, and I must admit, I only heard about this via my mum. Yesterday he was informing me it's Easter, and it's like, is it? When was that? So, yes. So obviously there won't be any post or any deliveries, both sides coming in and out between obviously Thursday and Tuesday. But I've had loads of people message me, and I've just got an email come through now as what I was reading, and it's somebody just got their order through in the UK, and that only went out yesterday. So they are definitely still working. The post in certain areas is as if it's nothing. Other people I know is taking a little bit longer. And I think depending on customs and how well stocked up they are with staff to do it all, depends on how long they're getting through on the more international side of things. But generally, it's all good. Anyway, you all right, Nathan? What's with the clean desk?
I know. I was working on the Javelin a bit last night, and it was just bits of plastic card on all sorts everywhere.
That's it.
I'm thinking, shall I work on it today or give it a rest? I'm not sure.
You can have a little break for it today, to be honest, because you've been at it
Shut
pretty
down.
solid. And seeing as you made the effort to shove it out of the way, we'll let you off it today. And you can have a fiddle with other things and go through. We couple of little questions already somewhere. If you chaps would start the show at 3 in the morning in the UK, it would be great. Perfect for Oregon, USA. Anybody fancy getting up at 3 in the morning?
I wouldn't plan on it.
David says he's about to fall asleep into a bottle of his Tamiya Extra Thin.
That'd wake you up.
We had another one here as well. I've lost it. What have I done with it now? Hold on. I've lost it. Somebody was on about an Airfix set or something, but I seem to have lost it.
Is it the refueler sets?
Yes. Darren was asking for it, but it's jumped. It's moved. I can't remember what it is now. Where was it? I've lost it. No, I've lost it. Sorry. Post it up again, Darren. You were saying something about the Airfix refueler set. I saw it and I've lost it.
Yeah, he said, will the Airfix World War II resupply set ever go out of stock? Wink emoji.
I don't know. Have we got a load of them? We have got them. Pretty sure, haven't we, Andy?
I'll just have a quick look. I'm not 100% sure.
To be honest, it feels like ages. The last time I was at the unit was when?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Seriously, I haven't been up to the unit since
October.
Gotta be, yeah. It was before Telford.
Yeah.
So it must have been October. Jesus, like 6 months since I've been to my own company. Brilliant. And what a grand job Matt and Andy are doing. Can we have a round of applause for Matt and Andy who are running the store?
Can you do that at 8 o'clock tonight, please?
Yeah, all right, okay.
Well, country to do it for you.
They're not showing in the store online. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I mean, it is one of them that seems to have come out ages ago, and that normally Airfix lasts for 6 months or so, then they go away, don't they? You can't get them for a while again, but that one does seem to have been around for a long, long time.
Must be a slow seller.
Yeah. I mean, if you want one, we could probably get you one.
Gordon says here with the airbrush issue, sorry, he's got an airbrush issue this morning. He's mixed Tamiya XF19 and 2 with what's and 2. I don't get what the and 2 bit is. XF2 and
XF2.
2. So that's white. And then X4, then thinned it with AK flow slow to nil, and then became thick and gloopy. What have I done wrong?
Sounds like the AK was acrylic thinners.
Then it should have worked okay with Tamiya. He's using Tamiyas, isn't he?
It's weird that they've gone. The thinner's the odd one out, isn't it? Because you can mix the gloss and the matte paints without any drama.
Yeah.
Depends on which AK thinners it was, because they do one that's like Vallejo, don't they? Which.
Let's say I'll be honest with you. I never used or tried AK's thinner, so I can't comment. It does sound like that thing where if you use like Vallejo white top and you put lacquer into it, it goes to glue.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it, and then you add more and more, and then it will break, and it almost goes. But it's very opaque, very very thin way of doing it. But I think that's where your problem is. Perhaps the AK. But then normally Tamiya's fine with lacquers, so I can't understand why it would quite do that. There must be something in the lacquer.
Unless I mean, the only way you could get Tamiya paints to go really gloopy is if one of them was enamel, because that's what Nigel's just speculated. Would you mix acrylic and lacquer, or maybe enamels?
Yeah, perhaps. It was an enamel thinner. The AK stuff, if that was enamel, would that do that? Crikey, I've never tried it.
Enamel. If you throw, I think I accidentally thinned a Tamiya XF paint with their enamel thinners, and it went gritty rather than loose.
Yeah, yeah.
My Hunter, it's the paint on it is as rough as sandpaper because I put the blue lid thinner through.
That'll be it.
Still sprayed though.
All right, okay, we get what Darren means now, because he's saying it's a resupply set, so technically it should never go out of stock. Very good. Boom, he's here all week. He got us with that one. Damn you kids.
Oh.
Right, okay, let me just switch over here into here. Hi lads, into my daily workshop schedule. That's from Richard. Hello guys, thank you. He's got his PM order. Good job, good job. Afternoon to Robert. Loads of you there. Hello to you nice people, definitely. I've been assembling the main wheels on my MPM Meteor. Working well so far. Good job, Robert. Easter's been cancelled. Don't say that.
It is just a week of Easter Sundays, isn't it? That's
yes.
what we're living through.
Phil, in your honour, I cracked open a cold lager for you. Cheers. Do you know what I just said to the guys, didn't I? Just before I came on air, is it too early for a lager? Yeah. For a Stella. And I haven't. I've been good and had a Pepsi instead.
I've got a cup of tea.
There we go.
Gordon's come back with a bit more. It was AK odorless thinner. The Tamiya was blue X4.
If it's odorless, that sounds like it's an enamel.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like...
Andy, quick, stick a bit of enamel thinners in something and see what it goes like. Into some Tamiya. Because I've never tried it. To be honest with you, I don't think I'm not an enamel person. I know I've got my low odour thinners here.
Mine went to grit.
Unless it's like a mineral spirit, you know?
I haven't got that AK thinner. Mine, when I mixed enamel, Tamiya enamel, it just went gritty.
Yeah. Some things you can find though, isn't it? And I've done it before because I've thinned, God, what was it? I got a feeling it was... I got a feeling it was extra acrylics. And I put lacquer thinners into it, and it goes to glue, and then you keep going and it will thin. You go past it and it will break, and you can use it. It's not easy though, and I wouldn't recommend it whatsoever. And those were in the days when certain colours are really hard to get. And I don't know why I ended up doing it that way anyway, but...
And Gordon, Tamiya X28 it will work. That's the thinner that's designed for those paints, isn't it?
Yeah.
White top. We're not allowed to talk about beer because Jamie can't get beer where he is in the Middle East.
Prayers from the US for your PM. Yeah, poor old Boris, bless him. See, look, you have to take it seriously. It's quite something when he gets it. If the Queen gets it, Jesus, that's it. Yeah. They'll hunt down whoever she caught it from, I'll tell you. Right, okay, so Phil, in general, how long are orders taking to arrive with your customers? Well, that depends where you are. Next day, apparently, because I've got orders that are making it still next day in the UK. To the US and that, I don't know. Normally, we always say between 7 to 10 days for anywhere in the world. That's normally the average what it takes. But sometimes they can take a lot longer. And at the moment, as we all know, there's a lot of staff off because of obviously the virus. So sorting offices aren't working at full capacity, and certainly customs and things like that aren't working at full capacity. So if it's going abroad, they are taking a little bit longer, I should think. But other things have been arriving really quickly. It's just sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's a little bit slow.
I've tried Untitled odorless thinners.
Yeah.
With a X4, and it just will not mix. It's like oil and water.
Right.
Literally, you can still see the clear.
Show it up. I've got you on full screen.
Yeah, it's hard to really show. Let me see if I can switch cameras.
If not, you're quite clear today. Just do it on that one. How is it?
I don't know if you can see it, but it's still, it just...
Yeah. Yeah,
not
it's not liking it, is it?
Yeah, you can sort of see around the edge, you can still see the clear of the thinners.
Yeah.
It's not going at all.
So that's what we're thinking then. Perhaps the AK stuff is more enamel than anything else.
Yeah, strange.
Screw Glue Addict says he's on his second Stella because they've sold out of Corona. William says, excited that he purchased Flory washes for the first time. Seem to be hard to get in the US, so hoping you can answer whether the gloss, semi-gloss or flat gear is preferred. Again, this is one of those things where, depending on the surface you're going over, it depends what it does. If you're watching this one, when we did the wash on this one, this is technically over pretty much a satin to gloss type finish. So it's purely panel line wash. This one was over definitely a satin finish, but we thinned it a little bit, and we did it on yesterday's show. Watch yesterday's back and you'll see it. So really it is two things that are dependent on the surface it's going over. The flatter it is, the more grippy it is, the more it holds on to the wash. To start with, I highly recommend using it over a gloss, just so you get a feel for it. But if you've got a flat finish, and when you feel it, it feels, you know, it's not gritty at all, you know, it's smooth, but it's still flat, you'll get all of it off. The bit where it starts to get gritty is the bit that gets stuck. Always think about it like a sanding stick. You know, if you used to put washing there, you'd never get it out, because you couldn't wipe it off. Okay, and that is it. You're just rehydrating the clay and wiping it off. So I highly recommend either a gloss or a satin finish to start with, just so you get used to it. Once you've used it a couple of times, you go over flat, and I go over completely flat like this thing. We went straight over this one here. I don't know if my top camera is even on today. Let me go over this one. Okay, hold on. Let me go full. There we go. You can see this is pretty flat. We put the wash straight over this, and you know, no problem at all with it. It all comes off, so it's just literally in the panel lines, but we thinned it a little bit as well, so it just ran into the panel lines a little bit more. But it's one of those things, it's very much dependent on the surface it goes over. If you put it over flat, you can get some great effects with it. Go back, have a look at a lot of my builds. Anything that's grimy, chances are it would have been over a dead flat finish. But as I say, if you're new to it and understanding it, then I would say use something a little bit more smoother finish, shall we say.
Could you say to Gordon, Phil?
Yeah.
If it's in a similar bottle to that, except with obviously the AK orange label,
yeah,
that's definitely an enamel thinners.
Right.
So it's why it's not mixing.
Yeah.
It's odorless, so it's likely to be enamel in it.
Yes. Definitely. So Twohead said, okay then, if I ordered from both Flory and PM stores, would they be posted together? No. No. PM is the warehouse, which is up in Doncaster, which is about 260 miles from here. And then obviously I'm down south in sunny, although you guys are just as sunny as me today. So down in the sunny southwest of England, whereas obviously there, I don't know, do you describe it as like northeast or not quite?
Yeah, north. Yeah, it is northeast, isn't it? It's it's just outside of the Midlands into Yorkshire, but yeah, sort of Middle East, isn't it?
I do want to offend anyone from that part of the world. So yes. It's always best to use a dedicated primer for priming models, or does thin paint work every bit as well? We often have this discussion. It's one of those things where I think a dedicated primer has been designed to do what it says on the tin, whereas obviously a paint is designed to paint. Yes, technically they will do the same thing, but I find a primer normally etches better into the surface than a paint will. So you might find that a paint might just peel back, and especially if you're using more of some of the sort of latex based paints out there, and acrylics as well, they tend to just come straight off. But normally primers, you know, they're normally lacquer based, so they'll etch a little bit more in, and especially if you're going over white metal resin and stuff like that, I would use a proper primer. But and I used to use, and I still do occasionally, something like Tamiya XF19 as my primer, and yeah, never had a problem with it. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I like using primer. I mean, I primed this with which one did I use? It was the new surface primer, 1000. And considering I painted it with MRP, which is also a lacquer paint, I still had problems with it peeling off for some reason, and I wiped the whole model down before I painted it with IPA, so it should have keyed well. It didn't in certain areas, but then I've not had any problems since. So I don't know. I don't know. Could have been me, could have been the plastic, could have been the weather.
My point was though, because where it peeled is right where you'd put your thumb.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know. Yeah. So
if it peeled anywhere else, I
bit.
wouldn't have said it. But because it was right where you would hold it, I said my first thing was, I bet you had an oily fingerprint.
There was another bit underneath also that I didn't show anybody. It was under the wing, which would have been where
you've held
I'd have held it as well. So it does make you wonder whether that was something on my on one of my digits.
Because let's face it, we've all done it. I'm not overly convinced, you know. Looking back, when I did that Phantom, do you remember I unmasked it and peeled it all off the tail? I was holding it by the tail all the time. So I've got a feeling that's why it did it as well. It was the oils off your hands. So, sorry, I cannot pronounce your name whatsoever. Opinion on the 132nd Trumpeter SU25. Brilliant, because it's your only option. That's all you've got. There's only the Trumpeter one. And to be honest, we've seen quite a few people done it. Hans did a fantastic one many years ago now. And I know other guys that have done one. John, he did an amazing one as well. So yeah, it's one of those kits. It's a bit like their 32nd A10. You know, no, it's not perfect, but it's only one. So there you go. You take your options. There's plenty of aftermarket available for it as well now. And that's the nice thing. So you could go straight out the box. No problem at all. It's going to look like one to me, or you can throw everything at it and have something pretty spectacular at the end of it. So yes. So Phil, today I picked up the 1/48 scale Revell issue of the Hasegawa F4M Phantom GR2. And I've ordered the Edard photo etch set, resin seats, resin wheels, and brass pitot tube. Very nice. Because if I remember rightly, if you bought the Hasegawa box into that kit, it came with white metal wheel hubs and rubber tyres. Could be wrong. One of them did. Used to come with all the bits in it. Obviously the Revell version doesn't. But no, very nice kit. Lee says he's cracked open his Hella 1/8 scale BMW R100 RT motorcycle from the 80s. Very nicely detailed. Say, you don't think of Hella doing bike kits, do you?
No.
Not at all. Nick says, higher, few stages of building into his Buccaneer. What colour would you recommend the £1,000 bombs? Preferably Tamiya colours if possible. Keep well, we will. Ooh, now you're asking.
Olive drab.
I'd say it's all olive drab, isn't it?
I thought so.
The thing is, like, these have got the practice rounds and things on it as well, and they're blue, so yeah, I think they're just standard olive drab in those days. So this has got the practice ones round with it as well, so they're blue. But yes, I would say standard olive drab. That's all they seem to be back in the day. And so if you wanted to, you can do them where the main body of it's blue and the tail's olive drab as a training round, the concrete ones. But yes, pretty much standard. Was it, Nath, for that part of in the day?
Yeah, I would have thought so. That's the colour I'd paint them, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What I did with my... Yeah, they were standard, weren't they?
Yeah.
Kind of various shades of green, I imagine.
Yeah.
During chat, Phil, Dave was asking a question about the F14 Tamiya F14D. He shows some pictures. It's got a raised seam line.
Yeah, it's supposed to have it.
It's part of the aircraft, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, that seam on there, everyone went absolutely mental when I mentioned it. But actually, it's a flex line that goes from behind the bags. So when the pneumatic bags inflate underneath the trailing edge of those wings, it's designed to move, so it doesn't put any stress on that join. So it is designed to be there. It is supposed to be there. There's a slight lip. They overlap each other in theory, and that's what it's recreating. So it's actually got a system where it sits on top of the other one, so it can slightly move on those. So because also the thing is as well, when the wings are pulled back, it all flexes a little bit. So yes, it's amazing how much the F14 wings move. Actually, they do flap almost. But yeah, I'm looking at that one now because everyone went hysterical because I mentioned it at the time, and everyone was like, "No, it's supposed to have it. Don't fill it." So yes, don't worry about it. It'll be absolutely fine. Ammo one-shot primer. We used that the other week, didn't we? Or I did. We were playing around with ammo one-shot primers and that. The only trouble is, Mr. Sprue Glue, I don't like it because it's polyurethane and it's latex based. So it's very much, it rolls up until it's totally dry. So it takes, a couple of hours or, 24 hours to properly dry. So, yes. So he's saying, Two Head says, yes, PM Store is out of stock of full wash sets and doesn't have the starter of the sanding sets and no pigments. I tell you, they're terrible out there. They can't get the stock. But good job, because there is a load on its way to them as we speak.
I say I blame the stockers.
I blame the stockers. Yeah. It may be that nobody tells me these things. So it's amazing to think, I think, what was it? It was 175,000 sander sets we got out there or something. It's like, yeah, we've got a few. Good morning from Florida. Thank you for doing the streams. Much appreciated. It's our pleasure. Hello from Brazil. See, look, we're all over the place. That's SU25 retails for $249 in Australia. Crikey. Used to be 80 quid in the UK. I know it's a bit more than that now. So, what's the Australian dollar worth? Not a lot then, I thought.
50%, isn't it? So,
half it, don't you?
Yeah. Just picked himself up. Sorry, I can't pronounce his name. Kitty Hawk SU34. Any tips? Landing gear. Yeah. As I said before, a lot of people say about the Hobby Boss versus, or was it the Trumpeter one versus the Kitty Hawk one. I think the Kitty Hawk one's got better detail, but easier build, the Hobby Boss Trumpeter kit. But again, would the landing gear, metal landing gear be needed? A couple of the members have built it and they've used the kit once and had no problem with it. But there is available, I think it's SACME kit, to the white metal gear for it as well. So yes, look, loads are down there. Lots of people. Anyway, so we're very good. We're alive in Belgium and everywhere else. Lots of people. Right, okay, so whilst we're all catching our breath just for a moment, and New Zealand. Hello, Todd. You haven't seen a short bloke, beard, bushy hair, have you? Just saying. Yes, if you see this bloke walking round and a very nice lady called Lynn,
he's lost.
He's lost. I'd kick him out of your country if I was you. Yeah. He's probably watching this. We'll get in trouble. Right, okay, I'm just going to switch to my overhead, guys.
Yeah. In chat, Lynn says, what's the likelihood of the SU-25 being obtainable in the US? I'd have thought it would have been...
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it would have been a problem.
No.
I think you'd be okay. Right, so for this afternoon's little project for me, obviously we've got the gear on. Okay, gear is on. I haven't put the doors on yet because obviously we're going to weather around those, but we are on the gear. It's not a tail sitter, so we're all good there. The wash is on and off and all the rest of it. You saw all yesterday, so no problems at all. So what I'm going to do today is just break it up a little bit, and I'm going to show you a couple of little tips about like doing panels a different colour by using oils, which is something I last did on a FA2 Sea Harrier, which is up at the Doncaster store now. So it's going to be quite similar to that, but instead of me using neat oils, as you saw me do the SU25 when we did this thing, this one we're going to use thinned oils. So we're just going to be coming in, and for this I'm going to be using some low odor enamel thinners, okay? But to be honest with you, more often than not I use something like this, which is a little bit of X20. All right, usual thing as we did the other ones, a couple of brushes. So you've got some placing brushes and buffing off type brushes. All right, so you're going to need some of them. Cotton buds, all the bits and pieces to go with it like that, so tissues or anything else. So I've got some bits of tissue here ready to wipe off and everything. All right, usual thing, if you're going on with this one, the coat you're going over, just like the wash and all the rest of it, is going to depict what's going to happen. If you're going over gloss, you can wipe this all away, you have no problem. Because I'm going to be going over the same coat as what the wash is on, and this hasn't had another coat, this is going to go straight over the top of the wash as well. You can probably hear it's a little bit textury, but that will be in our favour. Okay, so that's the plan with that one. So we just need a quick metal dish to make up our little wash. I've lost my little dish with the hundreds of holes in. I don't know what I've done with it. So we've got a little dish here. I have my odorless thinners. We have a pipette. Okay, so we're just gonna stick a bit of that in there. All right. So this time, these aircraft are always kept pretty clean. So what I'm thinking of doing is just going to cause some light mottling effects and just change the paintwork a little bit by lightening and darkening it just to break it up. That's literally what I'm going to do. I'm not going to post shade it and put in lines and everything like we did last time on this thing, because this is to give a very sort of worn and dirty look. This one we want to keep quite clean, so it's not going to have that type of effect to it. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to grab some enamel thinners, okay, and we're going to brush it over the top of the entire said wing. And I'm going to do it in stages, so we're just going to pull a wing first, okay. Down on here we've got the card, exactly the same one as we was using the other day. So we've got all these ones. These are dried on now, but they'll rehydrate, and I put a splodge of grey on as well. So all we're going to do is we're going to pick up a little bit of this grey. We're going to knock most of this all off. Okay, and then we're just going to come along and we're just going to put some dots here, there and everywhere. Over the decals as well, and over everything else. Okay, and these are going to start to bleach and etch in to all the areas, okay, just on there like that. And then what we're going to do is just going to leave it there to start to dry a little bit off. And as it starts to dry, it's going to do two things. One, it's going to start to pull these around and make little islands out of them and all the rest of it. But we need it to dry off a bit, because if we come in now and brush it, it's just going to take it clean off, and we want them to sort of stick a little bit. So we're just going to somewhat let that dry at the same time. So as we're doing it, what we're going to do is we're going to do the other wing. So we're just going to pick this up and we're just going to pop round the other wing, and as you can see, the clay wash won't come off before everyone thinks that you got clay wash on there and it's all going to just rub out. This hasn't had a coat over the top, but the wash won't move. It takes a lot to wake it up. So in other words, you'd have to scrub it to get it to go, because it's totally dry now. Okay, and
can you put yourself on full screen, Phil, so they can...
Well, you guys all watching.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
The guys that are asking questions in chat, will come back to them
A bit
later.
If you got any questions on this, ask now. The guys can read it to me.
Yeah, I think they were asking about other things.
Oh, right, okay.
Tomcats and lacquer paints.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so we've got a couple in there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to grab a little bit of the dark shadow colour, and we're just going to mix it with the grey. If I can get this to come back to life, just to make a darker grey. Okay, and we're just going to come back, put little bits here and there in corners of panels, just to cause a little bit of something, but we're not going to go everywhere with it. And it is proper Bob Ross moments on this, because the whole point of this is literally just to have some fun. So I'm just going to pop a little bit on the vortex generators just to make a little bit of movement. Okay, this is starting to dry off. You can see it's looking, there we go, catch it in the light. You can see it doing different things. So what we'll do, we'll just rotate it. Then we're coming in with a dryest type brush, okay, and what we're going to do, we're going to stipple it in. So what you're going to do is sort of blend this right the way in, okay, so it doesn't matter which way you're going from, but you're just going to stab at it. And the whole point is it'll just blend. So again, we're just, I know we keep harping on about it, but it's very much like makeup, and I'm not an expert, although Andy is. So, but it is. And I always say that's why the ladies are fantastic at this because they know what they're doing, and us blokes just haven't got a frigging clue. So that's why a lot of ours turn into pantomime makeup, you know, versus anything else. And this will dry back lighter as well, so don't forget. And being oils, it's going to take a while to dry. And then as this starts to dry, you'll manipulate it even more, because what we'll do is we'll start to pull it and drag it, but for the moment we just need it to dry off a little bit more. So again, we're just picking out panels and different areas, and hopefully you can see it's starting to change a little bit. And also the thing is, what it's going to do, it's going to lighten the paintwork, because this is squirrel grey. It's not a barley grey or anything else. This is the test squirrel colour, and I knew it was going to be a little bit lighter yet, and the wash will always darken it, so we need to bring it back just a little bit. But hopefully you can sort of see it now. It's starting to change everything that's going on. We can just pop round and we can do all these things. Okay, and this, because we've stabbed at it as well, you can see it's going very, very matte. See, the other side's really shiny, so this is drying off, so that's the nice thing to it. And what we'll do, we'll come back in a minute and we'll start to pull this around a little bit more. But again, I don't want to make this heavy weathered or anything else. We are literally just trying to go over, but you can see also it doesn't cover the wash. The wash won't be covered by this. It will need a lot more than that to change the wash and everything that goes around with it. Okay. So that's all we're doing, but it's great because it'll dull down the decals, it'll dull down all the areas as it makes its way round. Okay, so now we just go over to this side. I'm going to give this a bit of a stab and a tap. So this is very reminiscent to how we did the hunter when we were doing the green camo, the green and grey camo. It's exactly the same type of effect. So you end up lightening up panels, darkening them, but you don't want to do the entire panel because otherwise it just all goes very odd. But the great thing with using enamels is you've got loads of work time with them. They stay wet for hours and hours and hours. So it's not like you're up against the clock if you were using sort of paint techniques and stuff. So if you've never really used enamels and things like that, you can just go at this for absolute ages. And you can rehydrate it, you can wash all this away. And even if you used to wipe this all off, it wouldn't hurt the wash would stay behind, because the wash needs to be rehydrated before that'll let go. And if it starts to stick and you can't get it to come off, then literally you just add another brush over the top of the thinners, and it will wash off everything, because it will rehydrate the oils and the oils will come away. So you want to do it till it just all vanishes and then stop, because you don't want to keep going, because otherwise you'll lose the lot. There we go, it's starting to go now. Okay, so what we're going to do, brush off the brush. And now what we're going to do is just going to give it a rub. And also, this is my end, so this is not going to get an overcoat or anything else, so this will be, whatever finish we've got on here will be it. I don't like to give mine a flat coat or anything else. So trailing edge, we're going with direction of airflow. The only thing we will do is give the roundels a bit of a clean, which we'll do with your finger. There we go. Okay, let me just try another camera. There we go. So it's now just getting that sort of more patchy type look. And we're just going to go at it. So again, we've got a little bit of dirt and various things going on here, but you see it's got that nice flat look to it now. Hasn't got the shininess, and then hopefully you can see the difference between the wing and the body. So clean side, weathered side. And that is literally what I do. The other thing you can do is, great little one this is, we'll just do the quick wash over, because obviously we want all this to be identical. So we're just going to pop a bit of this right over here, and then we'll pick one of these top ones, and we'll do a weather job on that as well. So under here, exactly the same. So we just pick up some of this. Okay.
If anyone can hear music or a hammer drill, it's because I've got a music teacher living one side of me and a builder living the other side of me, and both of them seem to be
going off at once.
Yeah.
Well, that's handy.
If it wasn't,
you don't have a band then.
You can switch your compressor on and join in.
Yeah, that's it.
Sounds like she's singing musicals with her son.
Oh, see? No end of the talent round your way.
Can hear the piano and they're going for it.
If it wasn't for lockdown, you'd hear loads of kids playing outside in my end.
Yeah.
Hear a pin drop, so quiet.
Bless. There's the little cherubs.
They're saying that when they watch your builds, they end up buying the kits.
Yes, that does happen. To be honest, I do the reviews and end up keeping the kit.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, gonna have to build that. That's fantastic. I want that one. You know? So I'm just as bad.
Yeah, Keith, the brushes Phil's using are the AK ones.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I do like these ones. These are very, very nice ones. We've got the number 6 flats I tend to use all the time, and then the number 1s. I'm not so much with the other ones which have got funny teeth and stuff on them.
Yeah, and the fan one as well.
They do a fan one and all these other different fancy things. I must admit, I'm not too up on them, but these ones are actually quite nice.
The fan ones are good for dusting, not much else, I think.
Darren says, Phil, do you ever sell your finished models?
Used to, but no, not anymore. They all now live at PM or they get donated. So on here, because it's round, we're going to do the downward dash with it, okay, as if it's got streaking, a little bit of streaking, but again I'm trying to keep this as neat as possible without going too crazy. And again, keep your brush dry, so every now and again, I know you can't see it, but I'm rubbing it off on my trousers to aid in the drying off of them. But again, if you use it with the wash somewhat reacts with it and gives it a very nice texture, because I think the enamels get soaked up by the clay, so it hangs around the panel lines and all these different areas. So this is using it wet as opposed to using it dry. So last time we used it dry, we were moving it around when it's dry, but this is on a wet surface. So you have to imagine it's more of a sort of blendy type business going on with this. Sorry. And I get a lot of people also, they say about the colour, like what colour do you use? Use whatever. because it's weathering, you're there for an effect. You're not trying to match it to anything. Okay, so that's the thing to all of this. And as this dries, it'll all dry very flat and light. So it'll change whatever colours you're sort of doing anyway. So I wouldn't worry honestly too much about it. But if you're on a round area, you want to go up and downy with it, just to give it that sort of vertical weathering. But obviously if you're on flat areas, you're thinking of airflow, so you're going to be going the sort of more horizontal. But again, we're not trying to over weather this, we're just trying to break it all up just a little bit. Hopefully you can see it on the tail starting to mottle around on here, and as this all dries, it will dry back and give a more flat type look to it. But the whole point of weathering, like I always say, is you're trying to keep it subtle. It's very easy to go over the top and you end up with something that's looking a little bit, you know, artificial, you know. So keep it as subtle as possible. And the great thing is, of course, you can hide all your mistakes in it. So, you know, use your weathering to your advantage as well. So if you've got a little mistake, you think, you know what, that's made a hash of it or whatever. You think, right, okay, now this up front here, you can see it's been on here a while now and it's dried and it's not really moving. So what we're going to do is just going to give it a bit of a thinners over it. The thinners will start to etch. And there we go. Probably a little bit too much, but it'll all go. Okay, so this is just one layer. Okay, so that's just the light one on there, and already it's just changed the look of it. Okay, and then you can come back in if you want to, and you can then start to sort of think, right, okay, well, we're going to add a little bit of shadowing in some areas. So perhaps we will just pop tiny little bit sort of dirt. So we've just got this on the palette here, we've got this sort of grey up here, mixing it down in here. Just trying to make up something a little bit grimy, a bit darker grey. Okay, so we're just going to come in, just going to add tiny bit down on the brake and on here, and we're going to pop a little bit just behind the vortex generators, just because I think they would probably get a bit grimy. But the thing is, like me and Matt were saying, these jets were actually kept quite clean. They weren't dirty. So
they're saying in chat that as you don't do builds at the weekend, is that where you get your makeup
techniques
experience from? Yeah.
Hey, don't knock it. My weekends are normally doing wash and sanders.
7 days a week.
Good job, I like my job. Okay, just a bit of smudging, very light. Okay, different camera. There we go. And again, this is the soft type weathering, and then you can come back in and add sharpened weathering and all those other things. Right, next up, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to quickly change a panel color. So we're going to pretend this panel is a replacement one just here. Okay, so if you were probably cleverer than me, you wouldn't have to mask it, but I'm not. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop a bit of masking tape just here. Bit of masking tape here. There. Bit there, and then we're going to borrow the grey. Okay, so we've got a panel, so what we're going to do, so now we're doing painting with oils. Okay, so that's literally on that, and then we'll just a bit on here. I'm just scrubbing it off on another bit of kitchen roll, just clean off the brush totally. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to buff this down, just trying to take a bit of that all off and to move it all around. And we're coming back to our brush. So what we're looking for is just a slight change in the panel. There we go. So now you can say, and again, when you're staring down really close, but from a distance, and you can go around and change all the panel colours just very, very subtly if you wanted to. And again, gives it something, a little bit of a highlight. Brush off the entire thing, and you can literally dust this in. And just knock it back a little bit. And there we have it. And that's how you go about. Now if you wanted to, you can actually cause all the different weathering effects if you wanted to, and it is this thing now, you can just keep layering it up and layering it up and layering it up as much as you wanted to. Okay, so we're just going to assume down on here, we're going to put in some very minor type weathering things. So we're just coming over these little panels, because we've got quite heavy panels here. We're just going to brush in, just the same as we did the other day, some very light stuff on these. And again, we're just trying to keep this light. I'm not trying to go over the top with this, so it's not anywhere as heavy as it did last time. And we're just literally trying to cause an effect rather than a full paint job. Okay. So now you've got the lightness, and now we're going to cause the darkness. Again, you get an area, gets a bit stubborn, pop in with a cotton bud. Give it a buff. there we go. And that is how we do that. So it's all subtle, and the thing is, like from there it's quite strong angled, you can see it quite a lot, and then different angles it will show it off as being different effects. Like this area down the tail needs a bit more buffing and that, which is showing more on the close-up than it is into the eye. And again, you've got to do the underside yet as well. But as it dries, hopefully you can see you get the sort of marbling effect coming through. This is because it's drying off now, it's proper, all handleable, it's all dry, you can do what you like with it. And again, it's a good way of weathering. And if you don't like it, like we were saying before, it doesn't matter, because you could actually just give this a brush over and a wipe over now with the actual enamels and wipe it all away. And now you hopefully you can see it's a lot lighter than it was, because that was it before, to give you an idea what we've done, and then this is it now. So it's lightening the paint, because this is supposed to be squirrel grey, which is actually a very light grey. So I knew full well we were going to be down into this realm where it's quite dark, and yeah, it's sort of almost like that, I don't know, halfway to being God, what's it called, barley grey. But that's what we've ended up with. So we've changed it from one to the other. So a lot of the shadows you can see is actually that dark grey now being shown through with the light grey. And then hopefully it's almost that ta-da moment when you show the difference. That's how we started, and now that's what we've got. And again, little things like changing this panel, you catch it in the light. It shouldn't be blindingly obvious, but we're trying to change it in the light. So what we've got to do now is exactly the same to the underside. But what I'll do is I'll take some proper photos of sort of before and after effect on this one. And as you can see, it's a little bit more profound over on this side. It's because we've popped around with a little bit of shading, just with a little bit of dark on there. This side hasn't had it yet, so it needs to have a little bit on there to get both of them done. But again, hopefully it shows you can do. So I know a lot of people will call it a filtering. Some people will call it, well, loads of different words for it. But at the end of the day, just by putting oils over it, it will naturally lighten it. When you first do it as well, the thing to always remember is the first coat in is always going to be quite dark because you put the enamels onto it, but as that enamel dries it will lighten. So before, after, ta-da, that's it. I'll take a bow, right, hand out the hat, collect the money.
It's really good.
Cool. Ugh. Ugh.
Richard says it looks so easy.
It is, I tell you, it's amazing the amount of people I show it to, especially when we've done it like up at the unit. You know, I did the hunter at the unit, and I think a lot of people, it looks even better when you look at it, because you can see the depth of the paintwork you're trying to achieve. But again, it's that thing, what you need to do is move away from what I call two-dimensional weathering, where, you know, it's just light and dark. What you need to do is the sheen and the shades and the oils as well. By buffing it, and you're buffing the paintwork and stuff like that, will give it that sort of, some areas are more glossy, some are more flat, and literally that's the way. But what I like to do is just move away from two-dimensional, which is technically that, you know, doing this, and then give it that, you know, because it just makes it pop. It makes it look so more alive. And I always say that as you move your look around it, your eye needs to be drawn, you know. So like for me, when you look down on this, to be honest, I think your eye's first caught by the panel lines because they look quite strong still. And then you notice this panel up here that we've done. So you've moved your eye off of the panel lines into the panel we've painted a different colour. And then you sort of see the grime and the dirt. So it's that thing of making the eye move. So just glimpsing at it, if the first thing I see on this one is the panel lines, then we see the panel, then we see the silverness of the actual intake rings because they always stand out, then you see the decals or the roundels, and then you see the grime. So in that glance you've looked at 5 things and you haven't even noticed it. You've just looked at it and gone, oh, that looks all right, it's coming along quite nicely. But it's not. You've actually looked at 5 things and it's broken it up, and that's what you want to do, because if it's just that, you look at it and the first thing I see is the decals. Okay, and then obviously you see the white of the gears, and then I see the grey, and then I see the panel lines. But you haven't got that depth, you know. It's all the different things in there that makes it work. But it's quite nice actually that you can see a good sort of before and after with the top and bottom, you know, into that one. But again, it's safe. That's the thing to it. Don't worry about it, because if it was wrong, enamel thinners, brush it over the top, don't even wait, and just wipe it off and go again. You know, but as I always say, happy little accidents. Like if this panel had gone wrong, or something had happened, or you know, whatever, then you could just do this panel job onto it, you know, so it's no problem. So if a decal had gone wrong as well, do a panel on it, various things.
A couple of questions for you, Phil.
Go on.
Hi, Phil, and everyone else. I think you overlooked my question yesterday, so if you don't mind, I'll ask it again. What's the difference between plastic and resin? Can you also see or feel it in the material? And why is resin harmful and plastic less dangerous, notwithstanding?
Okay, so the difference between plastic and resin is basically its molecular structure, isn't it? A resin is normally quite a fibrous thing at the end of the day. So when you sand it, it's why always people say about using resin, it's the dust particles are very fibrous and they get stuck in your lung, and it's not nice at all. It's not quite asbestos, but it's still not very good for you whatsoever, and that's the thing to that one. I don't know chemically the difference between the two. I'm sure somebody can post up and let us know what that is, but you know, let's say I've got a friend of mine who, as I said before, he does injection molding for a living. He'll tell you, because he's a doctor almost, but yeah, it's one of those ones which is very much above my pay grade. But for general using though, limited run kits, doing it at home you can do with resin, and I've made loads of things out of resin. I've made props, guns, you name it, I've done it over the years, and I've got gallons of it up there. And you know, you mix two parts together, you know, it's basically you have the resin itself and a hardener. It's a chemical reaction, heat's generated, you can use silicone molds, you do everything. Injection, you know, but plastic you can't, because plastic has to be done at a very high temperature and it has to be injection molded and stuff like that. You can't just heat up plastic and melt it into things. It doesn't quite work like that. So yes, don't know. Want to add to that, guys? Help! I'm stuck. I'm above my pay grade.
No, sounds, yeah. I mean, resin. It's the half the ingredient of it is a noxious liquid as well, isn't it? So it's like got them properties in it to start off with.
Yeah.
Whereas plastic is basically an oil-based product, isn't it? That
I mean, any dust
is a solid that melts when it's heated. So
I guess any dust is not great to be breathing in full stop, really, is it? But
we had this conversation, didn't we, a couple of years ago? We were speaking about extractors and health and safety, and I think that's when everything went a little bit over the top in some ways, but in other ways it was quite right. We had one of our members who had a lung thing going on, respiratory things, and like he was saying, we had one of our members as well who's a doctor and was pointing out to us that technically we were talking about how acrylics are better for you, and he put us quite right saying no, they're not, because at the end of the day the particles you're breathing in go into your lung, and it doesn't matter if they're lacquer particles or acrylic particles, it's still going in your lung, and you don't want it. But there is things that are worse than others, and definitely resin is one of them. The resin dust, apparently the fibers are long, and they get stuck in the lung and can cause lots of problems, and that's why you get guys working with like fiberglass and that, and they're sanding it and stuff, they wear full breathing apparatus and that, purely because it really is bad for you. And resin by its nature is a chemical reaction going off. So the hardener, like 2-pack lacquer, it's a chemical reaction, it's releasing heat, which then obviously sets it and all the rest of it, but it's releasing chemicals which are very harmful to breathe in. So it's one of those things. You don't really want to breathe anything in. You don't want to breathe in dust from sanding filler, sanding plastic if you can, and all the rest of it. So,
can we just say hello to the guys that are just now joining at 3 o'clock?
You've just missed me do all of this, and I'm not doing it again. I'll take a photo for you guys.
David says, Phil, would it be all right to put on a coat of future gloss on top of that oil paint weathering?
Yeah,
so how much should let it wait?
Yeah, once this is what the thing is with oils, you want to make sure they go off first. Okay, so when you're doing it, you want the paint to be totally dry, it doesn't matter if it's normal paint or oil paint before you overcoat it. The oils, this won't. This will be dry within probably another half an hour to an hour's time. I think it'll be absolutely fine to go over the top of it. But if you're using perhaps pigments as well and you put on a really thick coat of enamels on it, it's going to take a little bit for it to go off. But once it's gone off, yeah, overcoat it whatever you like. It's not a problem.
Jamie says 2-pack lacquer is absolutely lethal, should be banned for domestic use.
It's dangerous, isn't it?
It used to be at one time, I don't think you can buy them anymore, is like masks that you wore. Apparently they're in very short supply at the moment.
Well, that's why I've got my other ones, my industrial ones. But you can't ban it. I've still got gallons of it. Literally. The thing is, I know what you're saying. There's a lot of people out there say, oh, it's lethal and all the rest of it. Yes, you are totally correct. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying for a minute this stuff isn't harmful and it's not lethal and all the rest of it. And obviously, if I was spraying a car or a boat, and as Matt, he's not here to defend himself, well, I'm sure agree, he'll be wearing full NBC protective gear, you know, using this stuff because it is lethal. But I'm only spraying 2.5 mil, which I've thinned on top of it as well with self-leveling thinners, because that's what I normally do. I make up literally 50% this, 25% the hardener, 25% the thinner. So, and I'm only spraying 2.5 mil. I've got 2 of these running, like the clappers, and I've got on, unless my better half has nicked it, whatever I've done with it, because I was messing around with it the other day, but it's around here somewhere. Here it is. And I'm wearing that as well. So when I'm spraying, as far as I'm concerned, I'm taking the best possible care. And also I'm only spraying something that big. Yeah, all right, the truck was a bit bigger and that's it. So, and I do it once last year, that was it. So from a harmful point of view, I can see your point, but it's not like I'm spraying a car every day for 20 years, then it's going to be lethal. So,
and now
it's controversial, but that's all I'm saying.
So nowadays you go down to the supermarket and get something worse for your lungs, couldn't you? So
well, yes.
You could smoke 30 a day, couldn't you? Yeah.
Yes. And hello to everyone on YouTube Live who's then now saying they've just joined as well. No problem. You just missed me do a fantastic weathering job on this. I'm just like to point out if I do blow my own trumpet.
Just trying to go back to where we started the oil weathering. I can't find it.
Yeah, guys in YouTube chat, if you asked a question as I was doing it, ask it again, because to scroll back I'll be there forever trying to find it. So, but yes. There was one question there, Phil, doesn't it lift the oil off when you mask over it? I'm not masking traditionally where you're pressing it down, I'm just cutting the panel off. So I detacked it on my hand and then just placed it on. The great thing about oils, are very localized. It's not like it will leach underneath, because I'm using neat oils, it literally will just go over it. You could, and I have got, and I'm sure I've still got it here, I do. I was using one the other week on something, the Millennium Falcon, and I have this. And what I'll do is I'll place this onto the model and just brush against it. And then go the other side inwards and do it that way. Once you've got most of it off, as you saw afterwards, you can buff right over the top of it, and it's on there now, it's in there, and it's not going to move. So you'll be okay.
I've just used some Mr. Colour semi-gloss clear to clear something. Mm-hmm. And it's a extremely strange...
You've gone specimen.
Colour.
Someone needs to hydrate more.
Have you mixed that with anything?
I think it must have been leveling thinners, I believe.
Yeah, because I must admit, I've got a bottle that's done that. Actually, I might have thrown it away the other day. Yes, I have. I've thrown it. I mixed up a small amount with self-leveling thinners, and mine done it as well.
I've used it because it was just to go over my top spinner, but yeah, very strange.
I'm having a break from the javelin.
Oh.
People are asking what's happened to the javelin. Just having
It's just changed into a shuttle.
Yeah, it's still
it looks similar, to be honest. You could put it on the back of that and it would look fine.
Yeah, it's still the same blooming colour plastic, isn't it?
Is that the Hasegawa one?
This is the Academy.
Oh, right.
Snap tight thing.
Got you.
It's rustic, but I might actually get this one finished in short order. It's only one. It's a funny scale. 1:288 scale. 1:288.
Sprugoo says, is it true you can use lighter fluid to do this? Do you know what? You hear of these things. Technically you could, but why would you want to? You know, I've heard of that as well. And I think back in the day when there wasn't model shops, you know, then people used to use a lot of homemade remedies in the 70s and things like that. Lighter fluid was definitely one of them for using on oils and stuff. I have heard of it, and I know of artists who do proper oil paintings using lighter fluid, but I prefer, to be honest with you, a refined artist grade enamel. I think works a lot better.
In lighter fluid, just is it paraffin oil?
Yes.
It'll evaporate very quickly, won't it?
Well, no, it's still oily, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the whole point. It's not like just normal lighter fluid, normal sort of gas fluid. It's oily.
I guess that was from back in the day where more people smoked, maybe, and they just had it floating around in the house.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mark says he built the kit that Andy's building when he was 12.
Is it? I don't know how old this kit is actually. It looks a bit old.
The one I'm building,
1986. 86, I think.
one I'm building, Nathan.
One you're doing, Andy.
Isn't it?
The Gannet.
Perhaps you did a Gannet.
How old is it?
I have no idea.
Sort of
Phil,
Gannet.
over the past few years at model shows, I've noticed that people have made the same model in the same scale, same paint scheme and markings. They believe they like hissing cats. Model envy. You always get, I think of, you know, a theme sometimes. Like we always say, when a kit gets released, give it 6 months and it'll be at all the model shows. One aircraft you didn't see was the Airfix Hellcat. I thought you'd see more of them,
Yeah.
but you don't see them. Not as much. You see a few of them, but not as many as I thought you'd see. I thought everybody, considering everybody seemed to be building them at one point, I thought, wait for it. You go to the shows and they'll just be everywhere. It'll just be Airfix Hellcats, but not. Other kits, you see quite a few of them, but
That's a fair point, actually. I've not seen many of them at all.
no.
That means he's 17 years old because it came out 5 years ago.
Well, perhaps he is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't say.
No. Fair. It looks and feels like it came out a long, longer than 5 years ago. But
The lemon one glue, I've got one somewhere. What have we done with it?
question is, did Jamie ever fly in these?
Is he that old? Is he on?
Yeah.
He is, yeah. There's a question for me that in Australia they're still waiting for their Desert Babe Tornado to arrive. What's the best 1:48 scale tornado available today? The Revell one is a short answer to that. As long as it's not a really, really old one.
Just speaking of the Revell Tornado,
You know.
I've had a couple of people ask if we're going to do a pre-order for the
Retirement one.
the final one. I spoke to Matt today, and we are just trying to find out prices for it is the problem, because it's not coming out until June. And say the wages things are at the moment, you can't seem to get any information out of anything. So
Yeah.
we're just trying to get prices, and we'll figure it out. We've had a couple of people ask about the tornado, and somebody asked about the javelin as well.
Yeah.
So we'll look at getting those up as a pre-order.
Mm-hmm. Where are we? How about the Tamiya Lime 1? Any experience? I have a 10-year-old son who is commenting on the smell from the normal extra thin. Now, I did have a bottle floating around here. I've got this one as well, which is, this is the resin type glue, which they do. The lime one apparently is the one that was done for schools in Japan, as far as I'm aware, going back in time now. I don't know if they still do it, but it was designed so it could be used in schools because it didn't smell as well. That's the whole point to it. Is it as good as the others? I don't know. I can't comment. I've never used it. I did have a bottle, but I've never used it, and I don't know what I've done with it now. But again, it's one of those things, like I've said, it does tend to be what your nose gets used to, because we've been playing with various glues over the last few months here, and it's a bit like they've all got their own little smell, and I think you do go nose blind, as in you get so used to the smell of extra thin you can't smell it yourself, and then you switch to another brand and you think, whoa, that stinks. Classic example, it's Tamiya LP1. When I first got the stuff direct out of Japan about 3 or 4 years ago when they first released it, I got over, was it 6 or whatever it was, you guys were down here when it was, got it, wasn't it? And we all had a sniff, and it was strong. It proper stinks, eye-watering. And I said, great paint, shame about the smell, because it is very, very strong. But again, I've gone nose blind because I use it all the time now. I can't smell it. You know, yeah, I opened up a bottle of acrylic the other day and thought, oh, that's whiffy. You know, and it's like, technically that shouldn't be. But again, I think it's nose blind. You get used to the smells around you, and then you just don't get them anymore. But if your son's saying about the smell, the lime one is not as apparently as harsh and all the rest of it. Is it as good? I can't remember now. We did have a play with it. I think it worked. So
I mean, I can remember when we started going on to the car lacquers that Matt used at work.
Yeah.
And I can remember I was sniffed some, as you do.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, that absolutely stinks. And Matt said, yeah, we don't smell as bad as leveling thinners. And I thought, they're just completely different in different scales. Leveling thinners is hardly smelled at all compared to the car lacquers.
Yeah.
But Matt was so used to the car lacquers because that's what he used all of his life pretty much into, spraying cars.
Yeah.
He was so used to it that he couldn't smell it, hardly smell it. But dear me, it was, night and day the difference.
But it is the thing, as I say, it's a bit like we were saying with your printer, isn't it? I bet after a while you get used to the smell. You probably don't even notice it now. But when you first had it, you were like, bloody hell, it stinks.
No one in the house, no one else in the house can smell it. It's a proper nauseous smell to me for some reason. I don't know why. It makes me feel ill, that smell does, off the resin off the printer. Yeah, don't know why, but
it's volatile and quite toxic, isn't it?
And I don't know. Yeah, it's not a nice smell to me at all. But let's say Sheldon and Sam don't mind it as much. But just David's asking in the chat. He says, I have nearly all the Tamiya acrylics and started to run out of a few. Do you think it's a good time to start switching over to lacquer versions? Happy with acrylics and self-leveling thinners? Just a thought, was wondering the advantages and disadvantages.
First of all, there's no direct crossover, so don't think you're just going to switch one for the other, because, like, for instance, they go black, white for the first bit, right the way up to semi, and then obviously you've got your primary colours to 8, and then after that it goes off on a magical mystery tour of Japanese navy colours and all the rest of it. Apparently they are extending the range. Matt said he had 3 new colours in this week. But there is no direct comparison to one to the other. There's a lot of car colours in there. So if you do need, was it mica red or whatever it is, and there's all of those colours in it. But as I said, if you use those colours, just be careful because they're not all available. As for switching over generally, I became a lacquer fan a few years ago, as a lot of you know, and I got rid of all my acrylics. Started off with MRP, then we went through the Hataka, and now I'm into Tamiya lacquers. I really like them. The difference is, obviously, you don't get tip dry, you don't get tend to get as much texture on your paintwork because it's eating itself. The downside is to it though, it's lacquer. It smells a little bit more generally, and obviously it's a little bit more aggressive, shall we say. So, you just have to be careful. If you're not used to working with lacquers and things like that, just be mindful that they do melt things, and you do have to be careful with them. You can't scratch clean. If you get a bit on your canopies and things like that, they'll tend to go on and stay there. Although that said, I had a load of overspray on this, and I got it off with airbrush cleaner, acrylic airbrush cleaner. It softens it enough to wipe it away. But yeah, so again, it's personal choice in a lot of ways. But if you're thinking of changing out Tamiya for Tamiya, check, because although there is crossovers, they are very few and far between. Primary colours are all there, but once you get past that, it's a little bit all over it. But the nice thing, I think, and I haven't tried them yet, but I've got them here, is that Tamiya's got things in here like the light and dark ghost grey in LP range, which is quite a nice one. So yes, generally going through, but they've got some weird ones, like they don't do a clear green, do they? They do a clear red, if I remember rightly, but they don't do a clear green. It's like, why don't you do a clear green? You think you do the same ones, do a yellow, orange and a red, but for some reason they don't.
Because you don't use green on indicators or brake lights, do you, on cars?
That's probably it. But I need them for my navigation lights on this plane, you see. But yeah, again, it's very difficult to justify going one to the other. What I would say is get a couple of bottles, give it a whirl, see how you get on with it. If you like it, then you'll go with it. I think there's a lot more positives to using lacquers than negatives. The main trouble, the biggest negative is always going to be the smell, and obviously it's an aggressive product, you know, but most of us use things like acrylic paints thinking Tamiya is the way to go, but Tamiya is an alcohol based thing, so it's halfway to being a lacquer anyway, and a lot of us put in lacquer thinners into acrylic paints, so you might as well just go with lacquer in the first place.
Yeah. The latest three that they bought out, I know Phil mentioned it yesterday, were LP 73, 74, 75, which is khaki, flat earth and buff.
Did you put buff on there?
I did it as you were saying it, actually. I was there. As you said it, I did it. But I think at the moment, most of them, they started off at the rattle can equivalents, weren't they?
Yeah, the TS range is being dropped, isn't it? So
yeah, so then it's like they've, you know, now bringing out, you know, other ones instead of, but yeah, it's going to take a while, I think, before they've got anywhere near. It's got 75. Does that go 1 to 75 or?
They were going up in 15s, wasn't it? The first batch was 1 to 15, then they went 16 up to whatever it was. They were coming out in batches of 30, wasn't it?
It's continuous, isn't it? It goes up. I
think so. Yeah, it's not like the acrylic range that stops.
There's quite a choice there, but like I said, it doesn't cover everything that's in the acrylics, does it?
No. Peter says, Phil, loving the earlier 2 p.m. start means that the show finishes just before the wife returns home and catches me watching the show to nag me about the chores. I ain't done well, so I'm on furlough. Hands up if you're on furlough. Put your hands up, everyone. Andy's not, unfortunately.
No.
I think we'll start a campaign.
Yeah.
Furlough campaign.
James is asking, are those Academy kits as good as the Bandai for Snap Fit?
No.
No.
In a word, no.
Definitely not. What do we got? Merlin says, just finished the Tamiya Mustang. It's going to do the Rebel 172nd Victor. Any pitfalls with the kit that you can think of? Any aftermarket recommendations? Not bothered about interior detail. I wouldn't. There's nothing to see in there. I don't know. I've got the kit. And like when we were talking to Pramjit from Airfix last week, it's definitely on my hit list because I've got them all. So when the Vulcan comes out, I can do the trio then. So, yes.
He was asking about levelling thinners. It's that one.
Yes.
That's the levelling thinners, but they also do a rapid thinner.
Yep. And they do a normal one.
They do a normal, which I haven't got, and they also do a acrylic thinner, which is pretty much the same as a X28, Tamiya X28.
Well, that's what that little blue thing's. Because you get those lids, don't you? You get a set of 3, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The twist lids.
I always wondered what the blue was.
That's why that wasn't on, because I've got 3 instead of 4.
Kevin says, hi guys, back to modelling after 30 years. Wow, things have changed. Learning lots from you. I have the 132nd Golf Tornado to do. Which wash is best to use? I have your dark dirt, sand, brown, thanks. You've got them all, absolutely. What I would do, if you're doing the desert one and you're doing it in the Gulf War colours, then definitely start with the dark dirt, put that on first, bung that all over it, and then I would probably add, to be honest with you, a little bit of the sand onto it as well, but do it patchy all over it. So when you're splodging it all over it, just splodge patches of it into it, and that'll just break it up a little bit as well, and it will give it that sort of dusty look to her. And go through the brown, probably not. If you want to do, pop it a little bit on the underside around things that are grimy and dirty, nozzles, back end, anywhere that's horrible, which to be honest on those is everywhere, but yes, that's the way with that one. But you've got all the colours you need. Don't forget you can mix, if you want to do, the dark dirt and the sand together as well to make up a really funky colour. Done that a few times. But just have a go with it, see how it's going. But remember, wait till it's dry before you make a decision on if it's the right colour or not, because when it dries, it will dry differently. Timothy says he's just started the Edard BF 109G6, bloody luxury. Nice kit.
Yeah, it's a lovely kit.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've got mine sat there, which I've had now since they released it. And yeah, might have to build it. Purely because I haven't done a 109 since I did the one for Airfix.
That'd be good for the SIG later in the year, the Bull to Berlin. You could do a G6 for that.
Oh, here we go. Thing is, I got the Profi Pack Spitfire as well, and I keep saying I'm going to do that as well. I could do that for that as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do like a double bill.
Yeah, that's it.
In chat, Phil, Lee says, Phil, what's the best way to restore raised panel lines or raised detail?
Well, if you're talking panel lines, then definitely a very, very sharp blade. And I just scribe it. So what happens is you push down, it causes a V that's raised. And unless you're really looking hard, you won't be able to see, but you want a very, very sharp blade. Okay, and it will cause a little V into it. To be honest, the thing I used to use all the time, I hated to rescribe doing the Lancaster in the commission days. Used to get commissioned a lot for it, and that's all raised panel lines. So what I used to do was, it's got quite a nasty seam line, obviously right down the middle of it. So you'd sand all the raised detail off of it, and then just pop them in. And by the time it's been painted and had a wash and everything else like that, you can't tell what's raised, what's not. And when you run your hand over it, it feels like it's raised as well. To be honest with you, probably maybe tomorrow, wherever I've done with it, it's over there. This is all raised detail. I need to pop it back around the canopy area. So that's what I'll be doing with this. I'll be using a very, very sharp blade and just going to be putting in raised detail into it, because unfortunately I've sanded a lot of it away. So instead of having to rescribe the entire thing, I'm thinking I'll go the other way and just pop in the bits that we've lost. So that'll be the thing for that one. So watch this space. We'll be doing that one soon.
Cool. Christian says, is the new Airfix Mark 14 at 1/48 any good? Spitfire, that'll be. It was better when it came with the free kick.
Kit Kat one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not very good.
Phil, you did a review of it, didn't you? No, you didn't, did you?
No, I didn't even do the review of it.
No, you didn't do the review, did you? Yeah.
I wasn't going to be one of the YouTube masses because they sent one to everyone. I just ate the Kit Kat. I was a rebel, wasn't I? I've got it here. Look. Hello, Mal. I didn't know he's in here. To be honest with you, I've spoken to Pramjit about this kit because he worked on it, you see. So, and he's built it, and like he says, trying to be diplomatic and not get anyone in the shit here, but I think there's a problem with the injection moulding, shall we say, that it's not Airfix's fault, which is, I know it's their kit, but they use external manufacturers. The test shots, I'm led to believe, came back and they were fine. But for some reason, there's some real fit issues with this kit. They're not massive, they're not over the top, and anything with a little bit of filler and a bit of fiddling around with, you can fix it. And to be honest, it's a fantastic Griffon-powered Spitfire, so there's nothing not to love about it, really. But it's a little bit, why has it got bad fit problems? I believe personally, and I did somewhat say it when I had the interview with Pramjit last week, about do you have problems with manufacturers? And he was being incredibly diplomatic, so I don't want to drop him in it anywhere. But there's something wrong, because it was good when it was the test shot, because I've seen it. This ain't the same. So something somewhere's a little bit screwy. So I think it personally, their injection molding is rubbish. But Airfix don't do their own, they use third-party companies, so I think the problem's with them. Personally, I would have hauled them over the coals for it, but not my company. Is the new Revel Tornado a new tool or just a Reebox?
Newish. Only a couple of years old.
Yeah, it's a couple of years old. I've built it as well, and obviously Nathan's doing another one for us. He's doing the more in-depth build, where I did the chuck it together and paint it. So it came out, what, 3 years ago?
Something like that. At the most 4.
So yeah, most 4. So it first got released as the IDS version.
It did. Let me show you.
Hold on, Nathan's got all the boxings of it, so he can show you.
First release was this one.
Yep.
The German IDS.
Yep.
This is probably the reason why there's never any weapons with this, because they released like appropriate weapons for a special tail one, i.e. none.
Yeah.
And then it came with a new sprue, or a couple of new sprues for the GR4.
That's it.
And this is essentially what you get with the Eddard Desert Babe kit.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 more expected this year of the IDS type ones, and there's an F3 which I don't have.
Yeah. But
But
the
this
F3
kit-
is obviously the fighter version.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not that old.
2014 it came out.
2014.
2014, 6 years ago. Jesus, was it as long as that?
Linear, but that is
Okay.
the best tornado kit in that scale.
Yeah.
There's not much competition, really, to be honest. With the Hobby Boss one, it's better than the Hobby Boss and Italeri kits.
Will you get the Desert Babe with the tie, with the pin and poster later this year, pre-order? I didn't know they're doing one like that, are they?
I've heard about it. I don't know where I've picked up on
So
it.
this is
but
a limited edition, so they're going to do another limited edition with a tie and a poster, are they?
yeah, but I think it might be for their Bunny Club
Oh, right, okay.
thing.
Yeah.
I read somewhere it was a way. They've got obviously extra sprues from Revell. For
Or have they
Spare.
ordered? I wonder if they've ordered more for a second run of the
that's all
Desert
speculation.
Babe. Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen someone was speculating that it's their Overtrees sort of release.
Right, got you.
Obviously, if they're going to release 3,000 kits, they've probably got another 500, 200 tucked away, haven't they, ready to send out as spares. But we'll see. Wait and see.
Yeah. On target 100, thanks. What's that? I don't know. Anyway. Hi guys. Can I ask you for one small favour? When you recommend a model, can you include the model number with the brand so we know whether it's a new one or an old one? What? Crikey, I don't know the part numbers. I just know what they are. That's beyond my pay grade. Need Matt, he's an expert. He's like Norris McWhirter of the kit world. That's why he shouts at us when he's not on, but he's listening like now. We know he's deckling everyone. If you want to give him grief, he's in chat. Go and give him some love in chat. He's deckling. Put him off his deckling.
He'll be sat in his shed shouting at his camera
Yeah.
or shouting at his screen.
Sometimes we'll just say it wrong just to wind him up. It's a bit like the gentleman who was commenting about apparently we don't say the manufacturer's names correctly. You probably didn't hear the show when I was on about we do it properly wrong just to wind people like him up, but I don't think he obviously heard that one. Isn't it, Mr. Vallejo? Tamiya. Where do people get Tamiya from? Anyway. As long as everyone knows what it is, that's the main thing. That's like I always say, it's not a problem. As long as everyone knows.
Yeah.
DJ Moore, Phil, I'm having trouble with the trigger on my PS270, which is my airbrush we use, the Pro Convoy. Have repeatedly cleaned the trigger assembly, sticks even when disconnected from the air. I'm starting to get used to it. Help, thanks. Right, okay, I did a video for you. Did you not watch it? God. I even showed it. We did a live video for it. If you whip the back off this area quickly, I'll quickly give you a quick run through for 2 shakes. Hold on, let me just move this little guy. Okay, hold on, where are we? Full meat. So, bearing in mind, take the back off, unscrew your needle, whip your needle and everything off the back, unscrew the back, completely out, and your flappy bit, right? Take your trigger out and check it's got no grubby stuff on the sides, okay, because that can be a fault. And then I don't know how well you'll see down there, mine will be quite clear now, but you see the little hole, make sure that's all clean in there. Sometimes it does pick up a little bit of dust, dirt and rubbish, okay. And when I showed it last time, there's no point doing it now because it's clean, but mine was actually quite dirty, and when I tapped it out I left a little bit down here so you could actually see it. But what you want to do is just pop in a little bit of your favourite lube, either in the hole or on the end here, because this bit is what pushes down onto this bit in here, and under here you've got a pin. What you want to do is make a tiny bit of lube just on the side of this pin. Okay, unfortunately the harder and Steenbeck ones you can completely disassemble, these you can't get into, okay, and then that should take care of it. And then when you pop this back in, which can be a little bit of a pain to get the needle in, just on the blind, if I can do it, you should do it so it's proper, you know. Let me pop this back together because it'll be easier. Okay, so if you pop this in here, there's a tiny little depression in the back, make sure that faces rearward. Okay, let me just shove that in there. Okay, and then what we'll do, bit at the top goes to the front, push it through and in, and then the entire back will screw in. And what you want to do is just make sure this is nice and snappy, and as you can see, if you watch at the bottom, see the pin coming out? Okay, and that's it. So the air goes up those 2 holes, goes up in here, goes down the side here, and then out, and all the rest of it, you know all of that. Okay, and then just give it a bit of a lube up and check it, and that it's fine, and you should be good to go. But I cleaned mine out, I did it as a live thing with you guys. Screw that all the way forward, make sure it goes all the way in. Tight, but don't overdo it. That goes on, and you're good to go. And you're just looking it to be, usually when there's a bit of air in there, it pushes this up a little bit more, it's even a little bit more responsive, but you want it to be pretty good. But try lubing it up. But when I did do mine, I ended up with a load of crap came out of it, to be honest, and it wasn't very nice at all. Okay, but the idea is that dip at the back, you want to make sure it's to the rear, because actually at full tilt it pushes down onto it. Not that you're probably pulling that far, but if you are, and you want it to be all springy and very snappy. Okay, and that's how you want it. And you go, testament to this airbrush, because it's now almost 2 years old, it's on the same needle and nozzle, it gets used every single day, and I don't clean it very often, and it's still like that, so I'm happy with that. Good show. Okay. Lee says he can't stand the smell of decorating gloss paint, but car model paints don't bother him. Do you know what? Same thing. I had a bit of a decorating spree last year and the house absolutely stunk. And I used to say it's worse than anything I spray. But then I was going through that thing. So I know in America you guys do a lot of spray in your houses. And I was thinking, so I looked online and you can rent spray stuff to spray your walls instead of painting them by hand. And I did think, how hard can it be? Got to be easier, isn't it? You could just spray your house. It'd be brilliant.
It'd take you about 5 minutes to do a room, wouldn't it?
It'd take you 2 days to mask up, 5 minutes to paint it. That's definitely the future. I'm going to do that. I learned something today. That DHC4, you know, like the twin otter,
Yeah.
stands for de Havilland Canada. There you go. Think about that, everyone.
Random fact of the day.
Random fact of the day, because I've never known what a DHC was, and it stands for de Havilland Canada. When de Havilland were over in Canada after World War II. Never knew that. It's one of those things. It's like, brilliant. Mind of information, me. I'm here all week.
Roger Dent
I need that for a pub quiz one day.
Or not.
Roger Dent says, when you guys model, but you're not doing live shows, do you listen to music? If so, what kind? Fair. When me, Nathan, and Matt model, we're probably doing exactly this, talking to each other.
Yes.
And to be honest, when I'm modelling, I'm doing it to camera normally and got the cameras all rolling, so I can't do it either. If I do listen to music, to be honest, I'm quite into my film scores and stuff. But as my partner will testify, being trapped in the car for me the other day for 4 hours before the lockdown, my music's crap, because I have everything from the Spinners through to 9 Inch Nails, Two Steps from Hell I quite like, pretty much any electric 80s crap, as it's pointed out to me, and anything in between, really. So
we were saying about the Rebel kit coming out in 14.
right.
And Carl says the Rebel F3 I have has 2017 on it. Yeah, that's because it was the original kit was from 2014, and the F3 is just basically a rebox with extra parts from the original kit.
Yeah.
New sprues.
Yeah, new sprues. Yeah.
So go on then, you guys. What do you listen to music-wise?
I'll honestly listen to anything from, I wouldn't say classical, but possibly not classical, but like from anything from easy listening to heavy metal, to be honest with you. Anything.
I quite like Rammstein as well. Rammstein. I'm quite into them in a big, actually not so much now, but I used to be. That's all I used to have on in the car. Used to sound like a right meathead turning up. Go around my parents' house with it on, windows down, that was it.
I had Bob Dylan on in the car this afternoon. Beatles, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And then I was at uni during like the Britpop Oasis era, so that was my era, the 90s Britpop scene.
Richard says, thanks for picking up on my question. The lime one is available from Korea, £10 for a bottle of thin and normally delivered. I'll give it a go, give you the feedback. Yes, love to have the feedback, Richard. Contact me, let us know what it's like, because I can't find mine. To be honest, we got them in. We had all the glues for a glue test we did a few years ago now, and I can't remember what I did with it. I got that one, the little one, but we did have the lime one as well. Speaking of light dark ghost greys, do you guys find that those colours often apply dark and need a bit of brightening before application? Again, it depends on the manufacturer. Some of the manufacturers build in a little bit of scale effect, which is lightening a little bit. I think the worst one is when you try and match it to a decal company, who's obviously sometimes they do them reverse. So like the underside decals are in dark ghost grey and then the upper side's in light ghost grey. So yeah, and if you get something like Marines and it's in both on a Hornet, it can be a bit of a pain trying to get them to match in that way. But yes, normally I tend to lighten the paint through weathering. So classic example, like we were talking about in this one this afternoon, how much lighter is that to that now? So in some ways I'm not that worried too much about the paint when it goes on, if that makes sense. Lee says he liked that we liked his little DC3 on last week's show. We did. That was really cool little build, that was.
Bob and Albert is saying he can't get 23 ml bottles of Tamiya 81, 82 and 83. You can only get the 10 ml minis. But we can't ever buy the big ones.
We can't get the big ones over here now, no.
You can never get those big ones here. So I think people are speculating that Tamiya are phasing out the larger bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, where are you from? Because we've not been able to get the big ones for 15 years.
I was going to say, since the 90s, wasn't it? The 90s got phased out.
Probably to simplify their supply chain, isn't it? I mean, one size.
Yeah, David says I muted myself and I was out talking to you and I realised I was muted. I was saying that David says he listens to Phil Flory videos when he's modelling.
Yeah, I've got a bit of that as well.
Well, that's what I was thinking. People will be listening back to these in years to come thinking, what virus? What are they on about?
Yeah. And Jamie listens to heavy metal, hard rock, 90s grunge, not Nirvana, but mostly Tool.
Fair enough.
Tractor Man says, hello guys, I model at home. He says, I can't use lacquers. What's a good acrylic alternative? If you want a direct comparison like that, then I have to say the Guns range. Guns Aquitis range. It mirrors their lacquer range and it's just as good. There's very, very little to it. And if you use their, which Andy's got in his hand, their thinners, Aquitis thinners, didn't you have a bottle of that there?
Oh, that's it. Aquitis in here.
That's it. There we go. See, we're on a roll today. So they're a really good combination. Work really well. Or you can just use Tamiya X28 with it as well. Works really well. Thing is with their paints though, with their acrylic or aqueous range, just make sure they're totally dry before you overcoat them. Otherwise you get the old eggshell effect and they tend to crack up like crazy paving and things like that. Especially with lacquer coats over the top and those types of things.
I'm finding with the rapid thinners though, you don't get that eggshell effect.
No.
It's drying a lot quicker and nicer. Using the aqueous with the rapid thinners.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready for a Tomcat question?
Go on then.
This is from Andy. It's regarding the Tamiya F14A. He was looking to use MRP paints for his build, but didn't manage to pick up all the colours needed. He's got light gold grey, black and white. Would the Hitaka dark gold grey work nicely with the MRP? And does anyone know the number so you can try and order some? Can't help you with the number. You can
dark
mix
gold
the
grey.
Why would you need dark gold grey apart from the cockpit? The only colour that you need for the cockpit, well, it depends on the scheme. I don't know what scheme you're doing. Sorry, I'm talking out of turn now. I'm just thinking of the normal Tomcat colours of that era was light gold grey and white, or off-white, insignia white, whatever they call it. The only colour I can think is dark gold grey on a Tomcat in those days was the cockpit. And if you wanted to, you could just use Tamiya's XF54, I'm thinking. That's very close. And you get away with it in a cockpit. Unless it's a different scheme. Have you got that kit there, Andy?
I have somewhere, but I don't think it's to hand.
Is it in the external stash?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's for the cockpit part.
Yeah, don't worry about it then. Yeah, go with anything you like in there. So they weather down incredibly heavy in those things anyway. So personally, if you've got the Tamiya range, I think it's XF54, be near as damn it in a cockpit.
Just a quickie. Sorry. Yeah, Jamie says, please read this if you're tempted to use 2-pack. I make no apology for going on about this. And he's put a couple of links up to health and safety government sites.
Up on the forum, so people can have a read. We can.
Still maintain I'm only spraying 2.5 mil with a full respirator, 2 extractors.
I think the problem is where people are spraying it
their car
just into a cardboard box or something because they haven't got the equipment. Go out seeing pink fairies, they've got that high on the stuff.
Gonna say, not being funny, you could fucking find stronger oven cleaners in the UK than they are. And everyone still just sticks their head in an oven cleaning it with that stuff.
Well, that stuff is crazy nasty, that stuff, isn't it?
Can anyone help me with which blue I need for the blue colour for the classic Le Mans Golf Porsche 917 Fujami kit with the Steve McQueen movie? With the 70th anniversary, do Tamiya have a lacquer paint? No. Because don't they call that Golf Blue? Doesn't it have its own designation, that bluey colour? Just trying to think. I'm sure this question's come up before. You can't just use anything off the shelf. I think it's a specific colour.
I'm thinking zero paints might be.
Yeah, that's
yeah. Zero paints probably be your best shout there, Peter. They tend to do. They do it as a set. I think you can get the orange as well for it, and the blue. It comes as like a 2-pack with it.
Oh yeah, zero paints definitely do. Yeah, they do a set with it, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the guys on the forums asking what's the best kit of the year so far.
The 35th scale pigeons.
Yeah. My best build so far of the year, bearing in mind I've only actually built 4 things so far this year, has to be the ICM Gladiator. That's a very, very nice kit, like that one. Are Airfix kits still being produced in India? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tooling is done in China. Design is all done in the UK. Tooling for the moulds and everything is made in China. The injection moulding bit then is done in India. I don't know about boxing and all the rest of it, if that's done in the UK. But I think it's all the rest of it's done in India.
One of the guys is saying who sells zero paints in the UK. Is it Hero Boy?
Yeah, Hero Boy. Yeah.
Hero Boy. Yeah. But there's quite a few places that sell it. Just do Google, you'll find something.
They do. They're specialist car colours, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything they sell is car related, isn't it? So.
Yeah. So I'm slowly making my way down here. And
cheers, Keith. I'll have a look at it in a bit.
Lots of people say what music they like. Rammstein's awesome. That's it. Pink Floyd to Slipknot. There you go. That's an eclectic mix, isn't it? Iron Maiden, Metallica, other metal. Brilliant. Girl power. Which type of glue would you advise for 1970s or 1980s vac styrene kits? That's actually quite an interesting question. Vac form isn't all the same. Some of it tends to be very soft and melts very, very easy. Other of it can be quite brittle. So what I would suggest is cut a bit off, because you're going to have a shed load of flash on that thing, no doubt, once you trim it, and just try a couple of bits and see which glue works best for that, because they're not all the same. I've had it before where I've used it and almost melted holes in it with various types of extra thin, and then gone and used other glues and things like that. So I would suggest cut a couple of bits off, see what sticks, see what works best, and try that one.
Graham said, did we miss him?
Who?
Yeah, Graham.
Hello, kids. You're early. You're an hour early. Go away. Don't look at me like that. I'm telling you. Do you want to make a cameo? One. Oh look, the other one's coming in as well. This is the obligatory. Only because you get better fan club than we do. Hello, Lola. That's it. 1 and 2. Very good. Right, say hello and I'll say bye. Right, let her down. Right, come on, out you two. No, you're early. You're like an hour early. Forget it.
Jamie's saying he uses CSI Krios Guns GX100, which is the wrong way. That one.
Yes.
I think it's the best, like a base clear going. Well, the best clear period going. I normally thin it about 70% thinners to the product, and then it goes on really, really nice.
I've used on the MiG for the first time. How have I done with it? I think I'll put it back. There we go. I used Hataka's clear coat. Have to say that went down absolutely fantastic. Really, really nice. It might look like a sample, but it went down beautifully. It's what I used on the MiG, and it's absolutely fine on that one.
Ed Longy says, now that you're running daily schedule, where are the starting times posted? I thought today's session started at 1400 GMT.
It's because we're on British summertime.
Yeah, we're British summertime now. We've shifted.
Yeah, it's 1400. Yeah, it was 2 o'clock, not GMT. It's BST now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
As of last weekend, the weekend before.
Yeah,
like
clock
that, yeah.
changed.
Yeah. Is that true? Is my GMT clock screwed up? We definitely started at 2 o'clock, not 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not GMT. It's
we moved away.
Our
Yeah,
winter time.
summer, don't we?
It's summertime, yeah.
Does Hataka airbrush well? Extremely well. I must admit, it's my go-to paint at the moment. I'm just really using Hataka and Tamiya lacquers. You know, pretty exclusive between both of them. They are very, very nice.
David's saying when the show's over, he's going back to bed.
I just seen that.
8
Yeah, that's what I just saw. That it's 8 a.m. My God.
I'd watch the show from in bed. I wouldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Just on the iPad.
Yeah, talking of the obviously the timescales, I had a couple of people ask us. It's a little bit fluid with these. As I said, there's no real set routine. The routine's out the window. Whereas we used to do Monday was a video build, that was all it was. Now we're putting a live show in with it as well. Tuesday used to be Q&A day, and now I used to do reviews, working my way through, and various other bits and pieces. So now that's sort of gone out the window, because again, we're not getting the reviews because we're not getting the deliveries like we were at the time. So again, everything's gone a little bit out of the window. So what we're trying to do is many of these as we can, when we can, to it. That's why I've done a few live on YouTube. I did one the other day, a couple of days ago, and all things like that as well, in different areas, trying to mix it up, just to give it a bit of a, you know.
What time are you starting tomorrow while the guys are here? And
whilst we're here, I don't know, because again, technically that's the PM show, so that used to do 2 till 3. So we'll probably stretch it longer. Yeah. So yes, not sure. Again, watch this space in the morning. We'll speak to the boss after the show and find out. So I don't know. Normally it would be 2 till 3, but it'll probably be 2 till 4, but it might be 3 till 5. Who knows? I'm waiting for him to chirp up in any of the chats. Or is he asleep? Is he having a nap?
Probably in the garden with Lydia, isn't he?
yeah.
Sunny.
Tim says, do we have a list of new arrivals?
What, of stuff? Well, I don't know if you wanted to say. No.
I did put some, actually, I put some new, well, no, because you can talk about it tomorrow, can't you? Talk about that tomorrow, not today. There is some new stuff that's gone into the new arrivals bit, but nothing much, but yeah.
Oh, look, there you go. Hyro Boy is closed due to the virus.
Was it?
Yeah.
What, even for?
Well, I'm just saying what he's posted up. Can't tell. Can he see? Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Sorted. Oh, well. Right, we are basically out of time. Do you want to show us your wares then, guys? Who wants to go first?
I'll switch it back.
Right, there you go, Andy. If you go first, since you've got it in your hand.
Yeah, right. I've basically been cleaning that up. I put a wash on it earlier on, and I've just put on the underside, I've put a semi-gloss coat on the bottom, ready for weathering. I can really see it's a bit. And then I've also been putting a semi-gloss coat on the spinner, so that can be. It's all still in parts. So it all comes apart. Trying to get that spray the right colour. I was going to do it originally, the Art Royal colours, yellow and black.
Yeah.
The beacons. But the tail decals on it's terrible. Doesn't even doesn't match the box art or the instructions. But then they don't match the real one in real life either. So it's a bit of a Frankenstein. So I thought I'll blow it all, and it was easy to do the other one as well. So I've done the other one.
Fair enough. That's all right. Right. Okay. Oh, look, putty, lack of thinners.
Little bit of putty, and then I've rubbed it away with the thinners. But I've actually kind of built it. This needs a bit of work to clear it. There's a nasty seam here. But I kind of basically finished it. Just needs a little bit of tidying up. Then it does kind of, it'll sit on there, and it might be flying on my daughter's bedroom ceiling like that, I think, or maybe more like that.
Just as it should be.
Yeah,
Definitely.
maybe upside down to show the, I don't know. But it's not, do you know what? It's a bit rubbish, but it's not too bad. Well, no clear parts at all, so a bit of PVA glue. But I think I'll just tidy up these seams, and it'll be in painting quicker than you can say Jack Robinson. That's
Very
not too
good.
bad, is it?
Excellent. And me, as we can see, we have our weathered now Buccaneer. So to give you an idea, that's what we were, and then that's what we are now, lightened up. So we've done just a little weathering job right the way around, picked out a panel, all done live. So off camera, I'll do the underside now. And then tomorrow, I think we'll get it all together, get the last bits and pieces onto this one. So we've got some pitos, various bits and pieces on that one. Refueling probe on. I don't want to put it on yet, so clearly I'll just knock it off. And we'll go through the motions of that one. So that one's come along very nicely. Hope you enjoyed the little demo on that one. It is a fantastic kit. If you've ever wanted to build a Buccaneer, and whilst we all still wait with bated breath for a 48 scale one, that's as good as you're going to get. That really is very, very nice. And I have to say, me and Matt were discussing it before we came on air, that when the actual Mark II comes out, I'm going to build that as well. I'm going to do it in the Golf one, because it'll look really fantastic. Very, very nicely job on that. So yes, that's that one all done as well.
Can you just do a quick few last questions in the chat, Phil?
Yeah, go for it.
David said, Lynn said, where do we find the start time?
Well, when I put it up in the morning, because it goes up all over the social media, if you click on it, it'll tell you what time it's going live on it.
That's the problem, though, because they're in the States, it'll be up about 4 o'clock in the morning, won't it? So,
well, look, is he awake? Someone poke him.
Right, if it goes up
I'll ask him.
this evening, that's not a bad time for the States, is it?
Yeah. Hold on. Live. He's on the toilet. Hello. Go on then. What time are we doing tomorrow? What? So do you want to do what? 2 till 4 or 5 or what do you want to do? 3? Hurry up, because the viewers want to know.
2 till 4.
Right. Okay. Sorted. Right. Speak to you tomorrow. Cheers. 2 till 4 tomorrow, everyone. That's it.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. So yes, we'll be on 2 o'clock. So same as today. So we'll be on 2 till 4 tomorrow, guys. As always. Again, Thursday night will always be an evening one. We always do Thursday night as an evening one. So, but again, keep an eye on everything, social media and all those bits and pieces. If you subscribe to obviously either the YouTube channel, if you want to go down that route, or if you want to do YouTube as well, the Flory Models YouTube page, that gets updated exactly the same time as the site does, because when the site updates, it sends all the information to the Facebook page. So that'll have all the bits and pieces on there as well. So you guys can keep up with everything like that to make our way through. So,
another quick quickie.
Yeah.
Stephen says, not that Stephen. Hi guys, quick question, Phil. A while ago you built a Dolphin helicopter.
Yeah.
That's why I said not that Stephen. I think part of it was some live show. Any chance you can see? I can see the video build.
There was no video build of it because we did it as part of the live shows when we used to do Saturday morning show, which was a few years ago now. It's 5-6 years ago now.
Are they still available? Or?
Yeah. If you go back and dig them out via the live shows we used to do, if you go back on the YouTube page and go miles back, years back, you will see it on there. So, yes.
Yeah. It says also you made about 8 kits at the same time. Can't find it anymore. Was that the
Hawks?
I did a load of Hawks. Yeah, I did that. I spoke to a gentleman about that when he was asking about that today, actually. But yeah, I did a commission for 9 Hawks for Biggin Hill, and yes, again they were just part of, that was a commission that I did on the top. At the time, I was doing the Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the thing to that one. I remember having them all lined up on the desk.
Is that available as well? Video for that?
Yeah, they're all still there. They'll all just be down in the depths of time. That's the only trouble. It's literally just, yeah, miles back.
In them, isn't it?
Yes.
And the last one, Dennis says, Editha says, hello from the Philippines.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Philippines.
That's right.
Very good. Right, okay then guys, that's us out of here. Thank you very much for watching as always. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell button icon and all the rest of it that goes with it, and we will be back with you tomorrow at 2 o'clock, which is GMT +1 for British summertime. So we're just an hour in front of GMT on that scale. So I know different countries do it all different ways. I think Europe's all on same as us now, aren't they?
Not sure.
They went forward, didn't they? I think they went forward last week, something like that. Anyway, pass. Don't know. Mind of information us. Don't take any notice of what we say. We don't know what we're on about. Okay then guys, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Happy modelling. We'll see you soon. Bye.